Hi all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to share stories with you that are so scary that you're probably going to think they're horror stories that I picked up here and there along the way. But I can assure you, as horrifying as they are absolutely true. And they all seem to have one thing in common. Sometimes we're just too trusting. And helping out our fellow man can sometimes be our worst mistake. But we all want to be kind and helpful, don't we? It's in our nature. But sometimes we don't realize who we may be helping or what evil is in theirs. But before I have you slamming the door in the face of your next neighbor who stops by to borrow a cup of sugar, I'd like to take a quick moment to ask if you would help me out by liking this video and subscribing to my channel. I'd really appreciate it, and it's one way you can still be helpful and live to tell about it. Like the lucky man and his son in the first story I'm about to tell you, who thought nothing of helping out a man obviously down on his luck, only to find out later that he actually helped a killer who was carrying the remains of his crime. I'll start in Clayton County, Georgia, where police say they received a 911 call on August 6th of 2023 from a man named Robert Peppers, who, believe it or not, lives on Peppers Lane, who said he needed to tell somebody about a murder that he said occurred in Rabun County. When police went out to his home to question him about the murder, they noticed what appeared to be a shallow grave on his property. Then they received a call about a missing woman. So they obtained a search warrant for the property on Pepper Lane, where they say, in that shallow grave, they found some human remains. During their search, they also found evidence that led them to a second location to search, and evidence of a second person of interest. They found that Robert Pepper owned a tree cutting business, and one of his employees, 23-year-old Keegan Phillips, had been staying at his home. But when they showed up to Pepper Lane to investigate a possible murder, Phillips was nowhere to be found. So they followed their second lead to Chattahoochee National Forest, where they conducted a canine search that led them to more human remains. But they were still not able to identify the victim. They realized the case was growing more complex by the hour, and they needed to find their second person of interest turned suspect, Keegan Phillips, right away. So they issued a warrant for his arrest. But not wanting to give away too much information to the public in the early stage of their investigation, they did not share the information out that a killer may be on the loose. After sending the human remains to the crime lab for identification, police continued their investigation, following a lead to a third crime scene location, while also searching for Keegan Phillips. Then they got a lucky call from a local resident who claimed he was holding a man at gunpoint who was trespassing on his property and matched Phillips' description. But when police arrived at the location, the homeowner told them Phillips escaped into some woods near his home, and he was unable to track him. So they launched a manhunt to find him. As the police presence increased and helicopters were seen flying above, people started realizing something was wrong and started sharing information about what they knew with one another. But they had no idea the evil that was lurking among them. So when local Good Samaritan Russell Jimerson, who was driving along a rural road with his son heading to pick up his paycheck, saw a man walking along the side of the road with his thumb up, looking for a ride, he didn't hesitate to stop and help him out. As a matter of fact, he described the ride he gave the hitchhiker as relatively uneventful, except for the awful smell that the stranger and his backpack left in his vehicle. Shortly after dropping the stranger and his foul-smelling backpack off on the side of Gillsville Highway, Jimerson said he received a phone call from a friend that shocked him to his core. His friend called to tell him that there had been a murder, and that police were searching for the killer who had taken his victim's head.
Not much happens in the small town of Gillsville, but when it does,
As the car line was going through, we heard sirens and we started hearing helicopters.
news travels fast.
And the parents started talking, and we finally learned that someone was on the loose.
Sydney Seegers was picking up her child from her second day of preschool.
Very unnerving.
No one knew who it was or what the person had done, including Russell Jimerson, until his phone was blowing up.
And then my buddy said, is this a joke that you picked up a hitchhiker? And I said, no. I said, I really did.
Jimerson says he was picking up his paycheck in Lula Tuesday morning when he saw a man walking.
He just stuck his hand out, very quickly. And I told my son, let's get him. I help everybody. He had been up all night walking from Rayburn County.
He says he noticed the guy had a backpack and he reeked of an undescribable smell, which, after dropping him off here along Gillsville Highway, Jimerson says he learned who was in his truck, Keegan Phillips, and what he'd allegedly done, an unforgettable phone call.
You won't believe what happened. A guy in Rayburn County murdered someone last night and has their head. And I said, man, you won't believe what I'm fixing to tell you. There's a smell in this car that is awful.
I think we can all agree that Mr. Jimerson's experience might be a good reason to stick to the never pick up hitchhikers rule we've all heard somewhere along the way, and that he probably won't be picking up anyone else for the foreseeable future. Jimerson informed police where he dropped Phillips off, and they arrested him a short time later. During questioning, police said Phillips gave them information about a fourth crime scene at Black Rock Mountain, where he left even more evidence of his crime. They said they believe the remains they found are those of the woman who was reported missing, Martha Angela Ledford. Phillips' boss, Robert Pepper, was also arrested and charged with concealing the death of another and abandonment of a dead body. Both suspects are being held without bond. So, if you don't want to find yourself in a nightmare situation like Russell Jimerson, don't pick up strangers hitchhiking on the side of the road. Or investigate any foul odors that may be coming from inside your son's bedroom. Police in Los Angeles, California, say they received a frantic 911 call in the early morning hours of August 13th of 2023 about a possible murder. The woman calling told police she smelled gas coming from inside her son's bedroom, and when she went inside to investigate, she was horrified by what she found. A woman wrapped in plastic in her son's bedroom. Her 26-year-old son was nowhere to be found. When EMTs arrived on scene, they pronounced the woman dead. Police launched a homicide investigation, and the medical examiner's office identified the woman as 30-year-old Hannah Collins from Mississippi. Hannah's grieving mother told the news that she was visiting friends in LA and had just celebrated her birthday on August 1st. She went on to say that Hannah was very kind and thoughtful and would do anything to help anyone. Police said they have yet to determine why Hannah was in the 26-year-old's bedroom or what connection there is, if any, between them. But they did say that it could be 4 to 6 months before they're able to tell Hannah's family her cause of death. And so far, they haven't named the 26-year-old man as a person of interest in her death. As a matter of fact, I couldn't find any reports where he has been named at all, or if police ever even located him. So one more beautiful life lost, and 2 mothers left in shock and grieving, with no answers about what happened to their children. Maybe Hannah tried to help him, and maybe he didn't appreciate it. Some people just aren't grateful when you try to help them out, and oftentimes, you don't realize how ungrateful they are until it's too late. Like in this next story, where a kind-hearted man, much like Russell Jimerson in my first story, just wanted to help where he could, and maybe help lift someone up when they were down. Only, unlike Russell Jimerson, 27-year-old Lewis Stafford wouldn't be left with a shocking story to tell and a second chance to change his ways. Stafford's mother told Fox 2 Detroit that her son was a much-loved manager at a Taco Bell in Chesterfield Township, Michigan. She said he was kind and cared about people, so when he noticed one of his employees coming into work with wet clothes, he asked how he could help him out. The employee, Dejon Drake, told him he was homeless, so Stafford offered to help him out by letting him stay at his apartment with him, not far from the restaurant, which in my book was incredibly generous. But apparently Drake didn't appreciate it, and according to Stafford's mom, Drake started treating his fellow employees, including Stafford, pretty badly shortly after he moved in. And when Stafford tried to talk to him about his attitude, it just got worse. Stafford's uncle said that Stafford told him that the employees became afraid of Drake because he was very combative, but he didn't want to fire him because he wanted to help him. So, he kept going to bat for him and giving him more chances, until it got so bad that he couldn't make excuses for his behavior anymore. So he told Drake he couldn't stay at his apartment any longer, and he needed to leave, which infuriated Drake. And according to Stafford's friends who were there that day, he refused to leave. Then he pushed Stafford and started a physical fight. So Stafford fought back until Drake pulled out a gun and shot him, killing him in front of his friends on July 29th of 2023.
Yeah, this is a horribly sad story. We talked to Louis Stafford's mom, who just wants people to know what kind of person her son was, and she wants to give everybody watching a warning. A big smile, an even bigger heart.
He was so emotional. He loved cats. He was a soft-hearted guy.
Louis Stafford.
He was a good friend. I never known him to be a bad friend to anybody.
A manager at the Taco Bell on 23 Mile in Chesterfield Township. Louis' big heart apparent when he noticed one of his employees was coming into work with wet clothes. Dejon Drake admitted to being homeless, and Louis, being Louis, offered to let him stay with him at his apartment, less than a mile down the road from the Taco Bell.
He had a good sense of humor. He was a big brother. He was a younger brother.
But a short time after the employee started staying with Louis, his behavior became combative towards his coworkers and towards Louis, according to Louis' mother. Louis told Dejon he could no longer stay with him at his apartment. It was Saturday, July 29th.
That's when the fight broke out. The dude didn't want to leave. He just refused to leave, and he pushed Louis, and Louis fought back and beat him up, and so he shot him.
Louis Stafford, just 27 years old, died at a nearby hospital.
I will never understand the universe and how God chooses who leaves and how they leave.
Police arrested 24-year-old Dejon Drake on the scene. He's being held at the Macomb County Jail on a $2 million bond. A message Louis' mom wants to share.
You just cannot let your heart overrule your safety. The world has changed, and it's the luck of the draw. You don't know if you stop and help that person, what's on their mind just because they're in need.
And Louis' mom also has a big heart. She set up a GoFundMe, but not necessarily to pay for anything for her family. Yes, she wants a nice suit to bury her son in, but she's also raising money for Louis' two friends who were there with him when this horrible thing happened. Reporting live in Chesterfield Township, Camille Amiri on The Edge.
Yeah, the toughest part about this whole thing is that Louis was just trying to do the right thing and help somebody get back on their feet, and then something like this happens. It's really hard to even figure out what to say in a case like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. And we went to the Taco Bell, and of course they couldn't talk on camera because you have to go through corporate and whatnot. But I talked to one of the managers, and you could see it in his eyes. I talked to him obviously off camera, and you could just tell by looking into his eyes how important Louis was to all the people who worked there, and what a great guy he was. Just in that short interaction I had with his fellow coworker. Just a horribly sad story.
Well, like his mom said, you have to remember safety too. All right, thank you so much, Camille, for
Such an incredible loss to all who knew him and had been touched by his kindness. And a mother left wondering how the hell raising her child to have a kind heart and generous spirit ended up getting him killed. But like I said in the beginning, helping others is in our nature. And unfortunately, he wasn't the only one. One of the most horrific stories I came across when I first started my channel was about a young couple from Ypsilanti, Michigan, who wanted to help an acquaintance who lived in their apartment complex when he found that he would soon be without a place to live. So they offered him to stay with them. And just 2 weeks after he moved in, he showed them how ungrateful he was for their kindness. According to police, Taiwan Sims, who had just moved in with 19-year-old Jamie Barsegian and her boyfriend, cooked breakfast one morning after Jamie's boyfriend went to work. When she saw that he cooked, she asked if she could have some too, but Sims told her no. Then an argument started, probably about how ungrateful he was acting after they were generous enough to take him in. And it escalated to the point where Jamie felt threatened. So she ran to her bedroom, and Sims followed her with a knife he took from the kitchen. When he caught her, he stabbed her multiple times in the abdomen, then in the throat to keep her from screaming. He ultimately stabbed her 49 times over breakfast food before calling 911 to let the police know that he had killed her. When they arrived on scene, they found Sims in the street, covered in blood, still armed with the knife, yelling at the police to kill him because he had nothing left to live for. But he would have, had he just been grateful that people cared enough to help him out and take him in. Instead, he was convicted of first-degree murder and will spend the remainder of his days behind bars. Jamie was pronounced dead at the scene, and I'm sure her boyfriend will never forget the shocking phone call he received at work that day after he thought all was okay and they were doing the right thing by helping someone out. Hell, I wouldn't blame him if he never helped anybody out ever again. I know. Y'all are thinking I've covered too much true crime, and now I've turned into a cold, hard ogre who just doesn't trust anyone or think it's safe to help anyone anymore. And that's fine. You're entitled to your opinions. But I can assure you, you're selling yourself short. And my last two stories will prove it. You way underestimate me. See, it's not just that I don't trust anyone or think it's safe to help anyone anymore. I'm not so sure it's safe to accept help from so-called well-meaning individuals offering it either. 49-year-old mom Kara Taylor had just gone through a divorce and was recovering from back surgery when a friend she met back when she was in school for respiratory therapy offered to move her and her daughter in with him so he could help care for them both as she healed. Taylor accepted his kind offer because she needed the help. Her 22-year-old daughter was autistic and required around-the-clock care. Her brother said he offered them to move in with him, but he needed a few days to get a space ready for them. So, Taylor chose to move in with her old friend Jamin Fritch in Oregon City, Oregon instead. Taylor's brother said he spoke with Fritch to thank him for offering to help his sister in her time of need, and Fritch told him it was no problem at all. So Taylor moved in with him in early July of 2023. Then, on July 27th, Fritch reported Taylor missing. but not before he made a few trips to Home Depot to purchase contractor bags, a tote, a saw blade, zip ties, and other essentials. When police performed a search of Fritch's home, they found evidence that led them to believe that Taylor had been murdered there. And on August 7th, they arrested him for her murder.
I've always felt super safe in this neighborhood, so it was really shocking to find out that that was just a walk away.
Some new information tonight. Neighbors are reacting to an Oregon City man arrested early this morning for murder and abuse of a corpse. That same man had reported the victim, 49-year-old Kara Taylor, missing on July 27th. K2's Emily Gersh spoke with neighbors about the brutal events that unfolded in a normally quiet neighborhood in downtown Oregon City. Emily?
That's right, Deb. I spoke with a neighbor who came home around 10 Sunday night to her street flooded with police cars, a drone, and a megaphone asking a man to come out of the house. That man, Jamin Fritch, was charged with murdering a woman who lives in the same house and dismembering her body.
When I got to my house, I saw a drone circulating over, and that was just a little concerning.
Haley Stupaski was shocked when she learned a man living on her street has been charged with murder.
It just seemed like, there kept being more of a presence, and then I started hearing the megaphone asking somebody to come outside.
Around 12:30 Monday morning, Oregon City Police, with help from a Clackamas County SWAT team, arrested 47-year-old Jamin Fritch in connection to a missing woman, 49-year-old Kara Taylor.
The state is requesting there will be a no bail hold in this case.
In court Monday afternoon, Fritch was charged with second-degree murder and first-degree abuse of a corpse after prosecutors say the FBI found blood in his bathroom, the bathtub, the walls of his bedroom, and on a saw. Fritch reported Taylor missing on July 27th, telling police she left her special needs daughter in this house on Jefferson Street, where the three of them live. Prosecutors also say Fritch made multiple attempts to Home Depot to purchase zip ties, tarps, and contractor bags, among other things, and that he admitted to dismembering Taylor's body.
He admitted that he dismembered her and placed parts of her body in different locations and said that the police would not be able to find her body because it was dispersed over multiple garbage municipalities.
Taylor's family released a statement thanking law enforcement and describing Kara as, quote, a very loving and caring person who would do anything for anyone if she knew it would make a day in their life better. She was trusting and had faith in others and believed there was good in everyone. As for Stupaski, she says she didn't know Fritch or Taylor, but the incident has impacted everyone who lives nearby.
It is disturbing, and that it's really disappointing to hear that this could happen in such a, good neighborhood.
Even though Fritch told police they would never find Taylor's body, they worked tirelessly for days, moving hundreds of pounds of garbage at a landfill near his home, looking for her, until they found her. Human remains recovered at the site were identified as those of Kara Taylor. Fritch was charged with second-degree murder and is being held without bond. Police say he provided no motive for the murder. The final story I'm going to share with you is a feel-good story, because I feel I owe it to you after you heard me out about all my trust issues. And I want to thank you by ending this video with a story that starts well and ends well, but I make no promises about what happens in between. On August 20th of 2023, parents of 14-day-old twin boys, Montana and Matthew Bridges, were staying at a hotel in Livonia, Michigan, with their newborns when their mother was contacted by a couple women from a Facebook group for new moms that she belonged to. They offered to help the twin mom out with gift cards, diapers, wipes, and all other essentials for her babies. So, the couple took them up on their offer and had them stop by the hotel to drop the gifts off. While they were there, the twins' mother left the boys with the women when she stepped out of the room for a short time, and when she returned, her babies were gone.
To start this half hour with more information on the breaking news of an Amber Alert. Police need your help finding 2 infants that were taken from Livonia.
Yeah, Priya Mann has been working this story, starting at the hotel that the twins were taken from, now at the Livonia Police Department, trying to get as many details as we can. Good morning, Priya.
Good morning, Nick and Rhonda. That's right. We just showed up at police headquarters here in Livonia. Those twins, 14-day-old twins, believed to have been abducted from a Livonia hotel. Take a look at a picture that Michigan State Police just tweeted out a short time ago. This is 14-day-old twins, Montana Alexander Bridges and Matthew Jace Bridges. These are the little babies who have been taken, who are missing right now, and the reason for that Amber Alert.
Police searched for hours for the precious newborns with no luck. Then, a miracle. Nearly 12 hours after they were abducted, 2 people arrived at the police station and turned the babies in. Thank God. They were rushed to Children's Hospital in Detroit for evaluation, and they were found to be healthy and unharmed. Thank God again. Police arrested a man and a woman in connection with the abductions, but they haven't released much more information about the case since. The important thing is that they're home, they are safe, and they are healthy. And 2 of the people allegedly involved are behind bars. I hope the family receives justice for what they were put through. Here is the press conference held after the babies were dropped off at the police station, but before the arrests were made, giving some of the details about what happened.
And I know you all will have a lot of questions. This is preliminary information. This is a wide open investigation. This started last night, 10:30 in Livonia. It concluded here today at 9:30 in Detroit. Great work by the Livonia Police Department, the FBI, members of the Detroit Police Department, our Special Victims Unit, everyone. When you hear that there are children involved, everyone put in a lot of work, and we have the best outcome possible, that the 2 kids have been recovered. I want to thank the community. Could not be more grateful to the community than we are that whatever happened, they had the confidence to come into this precinct and drop these 2 babies off, and we were able to get them to the hospital and where they're being treated. They're in good condition, being checked out at a local hospital. Again, a lot of questions I know you will have. You won't have a lot of answers, but I'm going to turn it over to Captain Jan from the Livonia Police Department to provide you some insight.
Last night at approximately 10:10 in the evening, we received a call from a woman that reported her children missing from a local hotel in our city. The children were 14 days old, and we immediately began an investigation into their disappearance with the state police, the FBI, the Detroit Police Department, and an Amber Alert was sent out, and today the children were dropped off here safe and sound at the 9th Precinct. We're very grateful for the collaborative law enforcement effort between all the agencies involved and that the children are safe. Currently they're being evaluated at the hospital and making sure that they're okay, and eventually will be reunited with their mother. This is an ongoing investigation, so I really don't have much more to say on that portion of why the children were abducted, but once that becomes available, we'll get in touch with you guys. My last name is spelled Y-O-N as in Nora. Gregory.
All right. With that, any questions?
Are we still calling this an abduction?
I'm going to turn it over to the FBI for those answers. That's what I should have done first.
Devin Kowalski, Acting Special Agent in charge of the FBI Field Office here in Michigan. I want to thank the law enforcement community across the state police, Livonia Police Department leading the investigation, Detroit Police Department, and the members of the FBI Detroit Field Office for their quick response. The community here enjoys incredible collaboration across all the law enforcement partners that we have, and so we stand with our law enforcement partners and the community to be responsive to the needs. It wasn't long ago that we were standing out here delivering some different news, so I'm very proud of the law enforcement effort. I'm very appreciative of the community, and thank you.
Chief, anybody in custody right now or being questioned?
Livonia is doing that part of the investigation. There are a lot of moving parts, a lot of questions to be asked. As of right now, no one is in custody. But, you know, again, it's a wide open investigation, so we just have to see exactly what they're looking at. But they're going to be the lead in the investigation. The support the collaborative effort and support has been fantastic. The command team, the officers here at the 9th Precinct, FBI, Livonia, and those children are safe, which is, again, the best outcome we could possibly have.
Can you describe the scenario when they were dropped off? I mean, was there dropped at the doorstep? Anything?
No, I'm not going to get too far into it because that's part of the investigation, but they were safely brought inside the precinct, made contact with an officer on the desk. As you can imagine, the entire precinct was on high alert. We got the same Amber Alert that you all had or got, and so to see them walk in with the two babies, we were all very, very happy. But then we have to get into make sure that they're okay and get them to the hospital. So the officers went right into that mode, quickly getting them over to the hospital to make sure that they were treated and good condition.
Chief, who brought them in? Who brought them in, Chief?
9:30, and I'm not going to tell you who, because that could hurt the investigation for Livonia because it's not ours. But I'm sure Livonia's going to update that when they can.
Captain, can you tell us what happened? Can you break it down for us? How do these kids end up missing from this quality, and what happened?
As I explained, the lady left them with two friends, and when she came back, they were gone.
They're
and
friends,
I'm going to
or
leave
they
that.
just
They
met?
were friendly acquaintances.
When did they,
So
had
that's
they just met
pretty
at that
much
time?
all I can say at this point, because we're still trying to figure out exactly what happened and why they disappeared to begin with.
Where's mom right now? Where's the kid's mom?
She's with us.
With you guys? Is she under arrest?
Nope. So we're looking to reunite everybody.
Why were they at the hotel and you be able to drop them there?
Not at this time, no.
Does her story add up that the family is saying that she went for a pop and the kids are gone?
That is part of the investigation, so I'm not going to elaborate on any of that. So.
When they are turned over, you had mentioned turned over to mom. Is that accurate?
That's the whole chest, yes.
Have you guys been able to find the vehicle of the ones that you guys were looking for this morning?
We're just going to leave it at that right now.
Has not been found yet?
It's not in custody as of now.
Are you still looking for it though?
Of course.
Can you talk about the PAR team and how they ended up playing a role in this investigation?
Anytime there's a situation like this, the full weight of the FBI, field office, headquarters, anything that we can bring to bear to help our partners is we do. And the resources are, the CART is one of those, a child abduction response team. And fortunately, this situation resolved itself to where a full deployment was not necessary, but everybody was ready to go, embedded with the Livonia Police Department, conducting the logical investigation to help find these children safely. Thank you.
Not to get into semantics, but is the term abduction no longer appropriate? Meaning, was this ever an abduction?
I can say it was reported as an abduction, and that's how we took it, and that's how we're treating it at this point, as an abduction. Our crime scene unit and our detectives were all out there investigating this as an abduction, and that is exactly why we had all of our partners here in law enforcement involved, and obviously a positive resolution that came about because of it.
That's all we have right now regarding that situation. We'll ask other questions of Livonia and FBI. That's for that investigation. We're completing that. Anything else? We got some more information to update too. Okay, so we can follow up after. All right.
Chief White, can I ask one more about the children brought here? And it may be reiterating, so I'm sorry. But they're in good health. I'm told they're at Children's Hospital being checked out. Anything else you can tell us about when they were brought here, their condition, etc.?
No, I mean, other than what you have, they were brought here approximately 9:30, turned over to the officers here. Officers did a marvelous job of getting them the health care that they needed and getting them checked out. We don't know if they needed health care, but they certainly have been out of the parents' custody for quite a while. They are stable. I was told recently that they were in good condition, no obvious injuries, and they're at a local hospital. So that's where we're at. All right.